was the night post-festivities, and all through the keep, something wretched awaited, keeping me from my sleep. After all of the presents had been awarded, their wrappings lay strewn about, completely discarded, their purpose fulfilled, leaving them to rot. And fill up my bin? No, I think not. I shan't allow any cardboard to go to waste, so I thought up a conjuration to use some in haste. A spellcraft that required mostly free materials. After all, January is lean for most individuals, so why not turn wretches destined for the crusher into something of use inspired by Gothic architecture? Nursery rhymes aside, I want to make something out of all of the leftover Christmas cardboard I've been hoarding. There's been plenty of sewing and embroidery projects lately, and my hands itch and ache to create in a different manner. I know at the very least I wish to conjure something inspired by Gothic architecture and stretch my neglected terrain building muscles once more. So I did as most do when in need of inspiration and went on a hunt to find pretty buildings to steal from, when suddenly my wizard eyes spied this sort of gothy, bay window, bartisan looking amalgamation and thought simply, that'd make a good lamp in it. Is this actually Gothic architecture? I don't fully know, but that's not going to stop me from painting it dark colours and pretending that it is. I begin by breaking down all the shapes I'm going to need based on these two images. I wouldn't say it's a simple process. I'm not the sort of person who understands how to make a 3D shape from a flat blueprint at a glance, or several, so it's usually much easier for me to get my hands on something and manipulate it physically. But since there's plenty of repeating bits and funny little details to keep track of, especially on the walls, I'll have to make a digital pattern first. The flat bits are easy enough to work out, but I make sure to spend quite some time figuring out how the roof and funny little lower triangle part should be assembled. After all, it would be absolutely tragic if I spent unnecessary effort cutting and assembling all the roof bits only to have it not fit or work properly at all. Once I have what I perceive to be an adequate blueprint, I pop off to the post office to print it out. It is not oft that I print my own patterns. Where I can, I like to use my lightbox trick because it's free, results in less waste, and if I'm being completely honest, I'm a little lazy and choose to avoid a trip to the shops as much as I possibly can. But it's always nice to print out my work and realise that it is indeed not useless, and therefore I am not a complete and utter sham. Speaking of patterns, I've a free one for you. I made this journal cover over the holidays inspired by 100 others you may have already seen, and thought it might be nice to offer it all to you in case you wanted to make your own for the new year. It's a standard A5 size, and I filled it with these rather inexpensive notebooks because my unhinged scrawlings are far too chaotic for pretty paper. I made mine from leather I had over from previous projects, but you could make yours in a fancy stiffened fabric, cardboard, or some scrappy quilting. Let your dreams guide you, my sweetings. Anywho, that's on my Patreon for free, and while you're still here, I'd like to take a moment to thank those wonderful and talented folks who continue to support the channel. I remain shocked each day that people as talented as these are willing to sign up to receive patterns and project updates from me, of all people. Thank you, dear council. Somewhere in between waging war against the Keep Rogue for my own personal space, I managed to assemble and cut out all the pattern pieces, which means it's time to make some fancy walls. Before I can get stuck in, my walls must get cut out. So I choose a box to butcher and flatten it out against the old pot-marked cutting mat. Placing the wall panels against the cardboard, I can trace and then chop out the required rectangles. I then glue the pattern piece to my liberated cardboard wall and use my trusty X-Acto to extracto the window shapes. Why did I not just glue the paper to the cardboard and cut it out from there to start? Well, yes, that would have been a great idea. Did you hear that past me? That would have been a great idea. Some may even say the most logical order of operations, perhaps. For long straight edges, I employ the use of a ruler, but for all the little curves, I have to do a little sawing and sanding to get them mostly rounded off. But all in all, this took very little time and fuss. I create semi-even strips of cardboard to form the outer frame of the walls, making diagonal cuts at the corners so that everything fits snugly and somewhat resembles the way wooden planks are conjoined. I then add an additional little plank across the front, just under the window panes to create further depth. The more you add at this stage, the better, honestly. It'll be far harder to do when everything's all attached. Now, there are plenty of little details in this design that I am simply not willing to cut out, so I shall have to sculpt them in. In the spirit of using leftover cardboard, I'm going to transmute a sort of malleable putty from this egg carton with a little water and some cold glue. I simply rip up the carton into shreds, soak them in water for however long my fickle patience can handle, squeeze all the water out until I'm left with a pulpy, damp ball that does its best to hold a shape, and then mix in a very generous quantity of glue until I can form wee little sausages of putty that don't immediately fall apart. Said sausages can then be placed neatly along the lines of my pattern with aid from a little more glue to form my design. A process that you'll see here in this montage because writing a script is hard and sometimes I don't really know what to say. Now that my walls are all detailed and dry, I figure it might be easiest to paint them up here in this stage. I thought I'd start with a burnt umber acrylic base, since it's dark and I have plenty of it. But when it dries down, it looks, frankly, rather shiny and ugly. So I paint over it with some dirt cheap poster paint, which dries completely matte, but very powdery. Oh, you can't have everything, I suppose. To bring back all of my marvelous detailing, I use a technique commonly found in terrain making and miniature painting called dry brushing, in which you add a little paint in a lighter colour to a fluffy brush, remove all the excess so just barely any pigment remains, and then brush it lightly over the whole affair. The paint catches on the edges of whatever you've made in a marvellous mimicry of light dispersing across its form, leaving divots hidden in shadow and raised parts illuminated. I use these silly expensive miniature paints for my dry brushing, but honestly you don't need them. I just didn't want to have to mix up a load of grey paint when we already had some lying about. I make sure to concentrate a bit of my paint in the centre of my walls, but other than that my process is incredibly unscientific. I just keep going until I like how it looks, and then I do just a little bit more. Since I have the fancy paint out already, I use this thin translucent brown paint to give the whole thing a deliciously dingy, dirty look. I do love this stuff, but 'tis easily replicated with a little sheer brown paint and a splash of water, or perhaps even rubbing alcohol. As a welcome surprise, this wash seals up the chalkiness of the cheaper poster paint, and the burnt umber I used in the beginning of my process actually turns out to be a great primer. Huzzah! I don't know what it was about this project in particular, but the Keep Rogue insisted on being as close to it all as possible, which would have been fine if not for the fact that she is a bright white cat. No. Window's closed now. Sit outside for a bit. While things dry, at least. After a quick banishing, everything is able to dry up properly, and I can move on to the next step. To pull my creation into the realm of third dimensionality, I lay the panels flat on their front and use ancient, barely functional masking tape to conjoin them into a single being. From here I can fold them into the loose shape I require and use that to mark some additional pattern pieces for the roof and floor. Those bits are then chopped out, edges taped over and slathered with a chaotic coat of paint. While they dry, I'm going to make some frosty windows to help diffuse the light from whatever poor LED I end up sacrificing to this project. After a looky-loo through my stash of wizard trash, I determined that the best piece of plastic for the job were these lamination resin sheets I had kicking around. I chop out what I believe to be the rough size required and then use a paint pen to mark out wonky diamond lattice shapes on the shiny sides of one layer of the laminate. Hopefully, this mixture of very little paint to very much glue on the other layer of my window sandwich will help disguise just how wonky it truly is. Once I have two halves all done up, I can simply smack them together and wait for them to dry into something that resembles a window, if you stand very, very, very far away. Once I have my windows and floors all in, I give any exposed masking tape or other goodies a coat of paint. I'll not be dry brushing those parts just yet, as I still have to add in all the spiky bits. If you guessed that the spiky bits were the roof and whatever this is, you may treat yourself to a confectionery. If you did not, you may also treat yourself to a confectionery, but only a very little one, like a petit four. Having used up most of the other box, I grab a fresh victim to hack into. I cut out all the template bits as before, and after a little futzing realise it's not going to work. For one, it's a little smaller than I thought it would be, and for another, the way I shaped the side panels means the whole lamp won't lay flat against my wall, ruining my magical illusion. So I had to do a little bit of recutting and adjusting and flattening until I end up with something that does not quite fit, but is certainly big enough to disguise that fact, so long as you don't look at it from a low angle. A lot of this project really relies on you not getting close enough to see just how cobbled together it truly is. I add a little chopstick spire to the top and paint the whole thing so that once the shingles are added, there won't be any distracting white tape poking out from underneath. While it dries, I also add on a chunky wooden bead and paint that up too, because fancy. Not wanting to waste any of my previous roof attempt, I cut it flat on the sides and use much tape to add it to the bottom of my lamp by force. Paint again! To finish off the roof, I make long rows of shingles out of thinner cardboard by marking out a 1x1 grid with the help of my cutting mat, slicing it all into strips, snipping along the lines, just barely stopping at the end, and then rounding off the corners with a little snicker snack. Adding the shingles was such a rhythmically therapeutic process that I just shut my brain off and placed little layers of teeny tiny tiles upon my roof, and found that when I finished I felt absolutely gutted that the process had ended. It wasn't until the obligatory layer of paint had dried that I felt the same satisfaction return when dry brushing all the little shingles. I fell into my trance once more, mind filled only with the motion of sweeping light across the edges of my recycled roofing, bringing it into being with broad stripes of a brush. I want to put shingles on everything now, just so I have an excuse to cut and paint and brush and cut and paint and brush ad infinitum into glorious rapture. On the other side, I apply a slapdash layer of my cheapest acrylic and call it a day, which sadly concludes my roof making. I pop the roof on the rest of my mischief made, hastily paint a patch of my wall with as much as the sample pot has to offer, and then unceremoniously cut to the reveal. I have many thoughts on my final conjuration, so let's start off with the bad. For one, I should have added more detail to the edges. I certainly took my regular terrain building stance of good enough from the end of a table, good enough for me, but since I do have to look at it on my wall every day, I do wish I had added in a few more wooden slats and ridges. Additionally, since I didn't add a backing of any sort, the light from this stronger LED spills out at the back, but I mostly won't be using it anyway. I'll rather be using this silly little faux candle, since the very visible cable really ruins the illusion. Lastly, the roof certainly doesn't fit, and I expect Wizard OSHA to knock at my door any day now. The good news is that since this is cardboard, I can rather inexpensively remedy all that. The backing could be fixed with a little hinged door, the wooden slats and extra details can just be made and painted separately and then plopped on with a bit of glue, and while the roof isn't perfect, I do adore the way the shingles look. All the dry brushing came up brilliantly, and the windows, when lit, really do invoke the feeling of looking up at the tower of a little lordship burning the midnight oil. I feel as though there may be a future reworking of this project. Perhaps I could add in a little backlit fairy scribe, hard at work on an illuminated manuscript that he's got to get done before tomorrow, and he's only just getting to it now, because when he got the assignment several months ago, he had just started his 15th Skyrim 100% run. Don't worry, he'll lock in tomorrow. Wait, what day did you say it was? PTSD aside, I'm on a mission to get a whole other video out this month, so I must go now, dear council. But I'll leave you with this. You don't need expensive materials to make pretty and somewhat useful things. While they do make making easier, the lack of them does not make making impossible. Art is art because you put your heart into it, and I hope through whatever bittersweetness this year holds in store for us, you'll remember it is not required to purchase XYZ expensive craft tool or material when a little ingenuity and thrift can go a very long way. Happy New Year, Council. Don't forget the free journal cover pattern, it's on Patreon. Okay, bye!